talk today is going to be how we're going to be effectively supervising postgraduate students remotely, because depending on the current situation now, most of the universities are really, the buildings are shut down, not lots of people are allowed to go in, and many students are basically stuck at home or where they live, whether they are at home or abroad, and they want to carry on with their studies because this is all basically time lost for them in this case. And we don't know how things will develop in the future, whether the lockdown will be eased and whether there is another peak in the winter, which it's quite possible, and we're going to end up with the same situation as before. And we need to be aware of these in order to be prepared for these type of situations in order to deal with them in the future. So an outline of the talk is going to be what are the issues associated with the current situation to start with. They should be different issues, so we'll come to these and then look at them one by one. And what are the opportunities available for the students? It's not only the students, it's the supervisor as well, because now it's a supervisor as well as the students who are, both of them are in the lockdown situation, and they need to find a way to communicate and carry on with the work. And of course, building the correct support for the students, so we can provide them all the support that they need in order to carry on. Maybe not in full capacity, but it will be in a capacity that is basically to keep them going on with their work in order not to waste time and carry on with the project that they are doing. And of course, nowadays, as I'm not familiar with this platform, Zoom, there are many platforms which are available. And I'm sure many of you have experienced a lot of them, because each meeting we do, the people will invite you on a different platform, and more of them are coming nowadays. And we've got to be familiar with all of these in order to make sure that we understand how to communicate with the students. And I'm going to look at, in particular, the MSc students who are usually working for 1 year in the UK. So they usually start in September, do the course until March, do the exams, and after the exams, they're supposed to do the project. And by the end of the year, academic year, they will graduate. So the master is a very compact program, 1 year, which they had to finish everything. However, getting the lockdown now, that will affect them a lot, and they need to be aware of what they have to do in order to carry on with their work. And then hopefully they will finish their work on time and graduate at the end of the summer. In addition to that one, of course, the PhD students, which they are working, some of them, they work in labs, and that will affect them a lot because they don't have access to the labs. I don't know the situation in other countries, but in the UK, the university is virtually closed. Nobody's allowed to go in, although some ease is happening now and people are allowed to go in now, but they have to get permissions and they have to be individuals, and lots of constraints that are being imposed on the students not to be able to go to the labs. And not to forget, because it's not only the students who are concerned here, it's the supervisors as well. The supervisors are as well sitting at home supervising students in addition to doing their normal activities. So they have to carry on with the lectures, if there are any more lectures, which are of course online. They have to carry on with the examinations and marking, and then panels and research, if they are doing research as well, in addition, of course, to supervising MSc and PhD students. We have finished in the UK the undergraduate project, so that's all been done, which is a relief for us, but we still have to evaluate them and, of course, assess their work. So I'm going to start with the issues that are facing the students for the time being, because beginning of the lockdown, everybody was told to go home and stay at home, not to go out. However, they want to carry on with the work. So in order to do that, they have to start working with whatever available to them in terms of facilities. And there are some issues which are related or associated with this lockdown. So people are sitting at home using their Wi-Fi, using the internet, and using whatever computers they have. Because nowadays, all of them, most of the students, they have laptops, in addition to what they have in the lab or in the university to work on. Mostly these students, they have their own laptop, and some of them are outdated, maybe a bit slow. They need to update them. They need to be aware of what the connection to university requirement is, and how to use the software, which is used to be available to them in the university, but not on their laptops. It was available to them in the on the computer networks. So problems associated at home, being at home, power cuts sometimes, although that doesn't happen all the time. But we have to imagine that not everybody is sitting at home with all the luxuries available around him. Some of them, they might go home to their home countries. They will have power cuts. There will be unreliable Wi-Fi. There will be internet connection problems as well. And that's what we have faced with the students, because most of them now, well, most of the family, if you think of it, they are sitting at home using the internet and the Wi-Fi. And that basically will make a load on the internet connection. So this is one of the issues that the students are facing. Lots of students in the UK are international. We have lots of international students who are doing masters and PhD. And they will have problems with their visas. They will have problems with the travel and insurance, because if they are self-sponsored, that's they have to take care of their insurance. If they are sponsored by a government or by an organization, they have to make sure that the sponsor will know where they are and what they do. And in the case if they have visa issues, because they have to be within the requirement of the law, not to exceed their stay if their visa has expired. All of these are issues which are being experienced by the students. Although the government in the UK has stepped in and then they have extended the visas, even if somebody has a visa which has been expired, he was allowed to stay in the country even without having a visa, a valid visa, because it's very strict in the UK in terms of the visa. If somebody stays over the visa, they will be sanctions and they will not be allowed to come back into the country if they violated their visa requirement. In addition to that one, how the students will keep up with their research and plan and progress, because as it happened that most of the students, they will have a plan to do their work. So starting this month, finish that part of the work, go on to the next month and so forth. And because of this transition and this change in the mode of the work and then the availability of the facilities, computing, labs, access to library, all of these stuff are affecting their plans, of course, and their progress, in addition to their progress, because they will be hindered by these circumstances. So as I have mentioned earlier, the university was shut down and it's still shut down, by the way. It hasn't opened yet, unless limited access. So there are no access to the labs, and most of the students who are working in the library, in the lab, in order to do experiments, they basically cannot have this facility anymore. In addition to the library, although most of the libraries nowadays are online, so you can get most of the materials that you need, but sometimes you still need to go into the library and then look at the journals which are maybe available on the shelves, or basically meet with the colleagues and discuss things, which are all facilities are not available now. In addition to that one, some students, they need to do field research. So they will have to go maybe do surveys, do research in the field, work outside the university and the fields. And that's also as well, it's been restricted now. So all of these will have an effect on their progress. In addition to that one, there will be unknown expectations. You know, nowadays, if they are not going out, there will be other circumstances on them, like social circumstances, maybe psychological, maybe they have problems obtaining or getting food or space in the house, because as we know that not everybody lives in a big house, somebody lives in a small apartment. Some people, they don't have a garden in the back of the house, which they cannot basically come out. There are no physical activities as well, which is also affecting the performance of the students. And how we can provide alternative plans. So instead of just carrying on as normal, no labs, no libraries, no field research, and even software, which maybe is not available, because most of the students, they use packages which are basically, they have a license in the university. The license in the university, basically, it's on the university's premises, not outside the university premises. So how do we make these softwares or packages available to the students while they are at home working on their laptops? And of course, as we are experiencing now with the new technologies, Zoom, Teams, Blackboard, whatever platforms they are coming out now, these are all new territories which we haven't been before. So when it happens at the beginning, we are using Blackboard to do online lectures, and nobody was familiar with this technology. So you have to have a very steep learning curve in order to get familiar with these technologies and get them to work. In addition to isolation, because freedom is something which we do appreciate, all of us. It's something that basically reduce the burden, the psychological burden on person, if they can go out, socialize, and then of course be in different locations rather than just work, because now it's all the time in the house doing work, nothing else. Of course, there is the addition of the family who are around, which they will have some demands as well. So what are the emotional issues that we are dealing with here? So being confined, that means you are staying at home, you're not going out. Sometimes you are working all day long, from 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night. Work is not progressing very well because you are on your own. If you are in the university, in a lab environment, you can always talk to colleagues, you can discuss things with colleagues, you can simply solve problems by just asking a simple question to the person next to you, and he can show you how to do things. This is all not available now, and that will have an effect on the motivation of the students. So if I'm sitting the whole day trying to solve a problem which I don't know how to solve, I'll be not motivated at all in order to carry on with the work. So a reflection on that one will be lack of progress. So most of the students, they want to see their work progressing, and then their results are being obtained. And of course, they want to write their thesis and submit a thesis at the end of the day. So if they are not following the same progress which they used to, this is again will give them a lack of motivation as well. And in addition to that one, the student will how the student will manage the expectation, because there are not the supervisor now, there is the supervisor and the family, because the student now, whether the student has his own family or living with his parents, there are expectations from him. So how can he survive in the new environment? Most of the people, they will have apartments, or they will have houses which are mostly occupied by people. So you need to find a place in order to sit down and do your work. And if you look at me now, I'm sitting in a small room. So I asked my little daughter to leave the room so I can sit here and have some privacy. So it's not only the students, it's the supervisors as well, which are affected by that one. So lots of expectations. We need to be aware of these as well. So you cannot have your own place or space to work individually or work in a quiet environment. Sometimes, of course, most of the family now at home, or all of them at home. Some of them are, they have kids who they go to school, they are sitting at home as well. And they have to be carried on with their school homework, with their school duties, and they have demands as well. Of course, sitting at home, if you have young kids and if you confine them in the house for a long time, they will misbehave. They will jump around, because it's basically they have energy which is not being wasted out if they go to school, which is something that they need somebody to take care of them. In addition to that one, and I have mentioned that we have lots of students from overseas, and having looked at the statistics that comes out from Europe day by day, although things are much better, much better now, that's good. Lots of families are worried for their sons and their relatives. Because if somebody's sitting somewhere in the world and then he hears that the UK has 900 people died in a day, they will be worried. They will be very worried about their relatives. So they will call them every day. How are you doing? How are things happening? We heard that lots of problems there and so forth. Although most of them are safe now, and I don't think we have lots of cases in the university, but this is a concern as well that people will be facing. Of course, sitting in the front of the computer the whole day, that's another issue, which the person has to survive with the computer. In the university, you have a big screen, you can work on this big, open space and a nice environment. At home, you have a laptop which you are facing a small screen the whole day, and then you have to kneel down in order to look at the screen, the same way I'm doing now, which is, again, this is something that affects the health of the people as well. Of course, the isolation, the separation from friends, the confinement in the house, and then feeling down, because most of the students will be doing work all the day and they will be depressed, and then they will feel down for that one. So how can we create these opportunities to the students? So, of course, I've mentioned the communication technologies that are available nowadays to the students. If the student is in a different place, in a different country, you have to allow for the time differences. I have some students who are working on their master's project in China. There are differences between UK and China about 7 hours. So if I wake up in the morning, basically it's night for them. So we have to allow for that one as well. Some of them are really concerned about the progress they are doing and the lack of supervision. It's not like the supervision as such, because the lack of contact with the supervisor, face-to-face supervisor. And we have to offer the help regularly to them. So we have to be in contact with them all the time. We have to chase them as well. Sometimes you just forget about them until he comes back to you, which is not the case. You've got to keep in touch with the student, either by email or by one of these technologies which allow screen or online communication, video communication. And nowadays, I think Tatiana is in the room as well, she's holding coffee meetings every 2 weeks. And these coffee meetings are virtual meetings. And what we are doing here is just to invite all the staff and the research students just to join in the meeting and talk about their concerns, about their problems, so things could be sorted out for them rather than just sitting at home and then worrying about what to do. So how to build the support? We need one-to-one meetings with the students via the links on Teams or Zooms or whatever. We need to look at the risk analysis as well for the supervisory team. So we need to see what are the problems which the students are facing and how we can solve them for them. And we need to keep regular contact with the students. So usually when we used to supervise students, it's face-to-face meetings in the room. We have to break this mold, because it's not that anymore. And remember that you are not supervising the students anymore, you are supervising the student and his family. It's not telling the student, go and do that. You have to take care of the family as well. If you ask him to do something, make sure that he has enough time or she has enough time to do the work, because there are other commitments as well. So they have other activities. They have to worry about other stuff at home, shopping, for example. I don't know what other activities, maybe they need to fix something at home or whatever. So we need to care of that one as well. And then, of course, which we are going to the ease down soon. So we need to be prepared for a reverse of these changes. We're not going to be able to just switch back to where we were. There will be restrictions in terms of how much time we can spend in the university and how much distance we have to keep between ourselves and the students. Other options which are available, take a break. So it's a summertime, most of the students, they can take a break now. So why not take a break now if this allows? And other changes you can do is to change the research of direction, until the lab's available. Maybe go and do literature search, maybe do some writing on the thesis, maybe write some papers. All of these will be basically changing the direction of the research. Some of them, which are self-sponsored, it will be good for them to go on abeyance now. So they don't have to pay money while they are not doing a lot of work. Some of them are evacuated to their own countries. So I have few students who have been asked by their government to go back. And I have to make sure that I can carry on with their work. The time they're going to go back, they're going to spend some time in quarantine, at least 2 weeks, and then we have to account for that one as well. So not to mention these type of platforms, I think most of you are familiar with these: Skype, Teams, Zoom, Blackboard, WhatsApp. Never heard of Wire before, or Slack, or Slake. I don't know what these are. So these are a few things which are coming on the market nowadays, which people have to use. The MSc students, so as I have mentioned to you before, we have them in a very compact program. They start in the beginning of the year, they finish by the end of the year. They do the exams in May, they start their project in the summer. So the university has decided to postpone their exams until the end of the year. So they told them, once you finish your lectures, go directly and start your project, which is a good thing. At least they don't have to waste time on doing revision, so they can jump into the project and carry on with the project. But however, they have to be aware that they still have to have a revision time, so they have to finish their work and not get relaxed. So I know the deadline for the project is the end of the year. However, they're going to need some time to do the exams and revision for the exams as well. So we switched most of them into a simulation-based projects. The university has stepped in, and then they provided lots of softwares like MATLAB, which is now they call it site license rather than campus license. So the site license, basically anybody can use the software from anywhere in the world, so they can install it on their computers. As long as they check a license from the university, that will be okay for them. Even MATLAB stepped in at the beginning of the events, and then they said we're going to give an offer of 2 months. I think it will finish by June. It's a free access to everybody in the world to MATLAB. So this is something which they can use. It's not only MATLAB, we have other packages which are available nowadays. There are some free softwares available like R, Octave, Python, all of these packages which people can carry on. Compilers, if somebody wants to use a compiler, there are lots of compilers available as well if they are basically running programs or compiling programs. The only thing which is very specialized or very difficult is very specialized packages, which they need lots of resources, computing resources, and they are not easy to install if they need lots of space and so forth. And of course, in order to keep contact with the students, we have to carry on with emails and Skype or team meetings, which we do all the time. And we spend longer time because it's not like face-to-face. You cannot just scribble on a paper and give it to the students anymore. You have to explain things to the student step by step. As for the PhD students, so we have to engage them with the literature to start with. Yep, thank you. They can start writing some chapters. We start online meetings as well and emails. I usually now do screen sharing with the students, and I want to see what they do on their programs or their packages in order to understand what they do and advise them accordingly. They can write papers, they can use simulation tools, and even we thought of doing seminars, online seminars, and this is a very good opportunity. So what we're doing now, which is an online meeting, that they can be done for other students as well. I have mentioned also the group chats and then the weekly meetings. Of course, we have to keep in touch with the students just to check on their farewell and state of mind, because don't expect that the students will be always motivated and then they will work all the time. As for the submission of the thesis, some of them, they can submit the thesis, maybe take a period off, maybe postpone the viva, which is not preferable. We've done some online vivas in the past, which are in the last month, which went all right, but the students are not familiar with that one. So the problem with that one, there is no direct contact. The student will be not comfortable because he's sitting behind the screen. And then, of course, we had problems with the bandwidth and the contact on the online facilities for contacting with the students. So we tried Skype, and then Skype, sometimes it doesn't behave well because of the bandwidth. So all of these issues have to be considered as well. Now, all what we have looked at is the students. How about the supervisor? The supervisors, which are most of you are supervising students, you are human as well. You are confined at home. You need to be taken care of as well. So this is the points which basically are something to take care of, or to something to remember for the supervisors. To be realistic, you cannot do everything. You cannot perform as what you were doing before. So be realistic of what you can do, and be realistic of what the students can do as well. Don't expect them to perform as what they used to do before. And make sure that the students are up to date with the university information, because the university has keep updating the information day by day. And agree with the student of the communication media. So tell them that we're going to use Skype. And if you are familiar with the Skype and the students familiar, this is the best thing. You don't want to go into unknown territory and use platforms that are not familiar to you or the students. And reassure the students that they are doing well, progressing, and then they are working. It's not like they are wasting their time. And remember that we don't have all the answers. Sometimes some of the students, they will come out with strange or unfamiliar requests or questions, which we don't have an answer for them. It's fine to say, no, I don't know. I can check with the IT. I can check with the director of the research, or I can check with the graduate school. That's always something which gives you some time to go and find out the facts in order to direct them into the correct direction. So I think I have consumed all of my time. This is the last slide as it happened. So thank you very much for your attention.